We were having breakfast at our place outside Denver when Nate pushed his plate forward and said it. "Stop calling me by your last name. I don't belong to you." His voice wasn't raised. He didn't shout, didn't even blink. Just said it like stating the weather. "The sun's out. There's toast on the table. And oh, I'm not yours. 17 years old. 6'2" and full of borrowed confidence." His thumbs never stopped moving on the phone I paid for. Not even when he gutted me. I looked across the table at him, then at Karen. My wife. His mother. She was reaching for the orange juice like nothing had happened. Her expression didn't change. No shock. No correction. Just silence. That was worse than the words. "My name's Mike. I'm 46. Been in this family for 7 years, though if you ask them, they might say I'm just passing through." Nate was 11 when I married Karen. His biological father, Tom, was already halfway out of the picture by then. Good for a birthday text, sometimes a check, but rarely both in the same year. I was the one who stepped in. I was the one who showed up. Parent-teacher nights? Me. Emergency room when he cracked his head skateboarding? Me. Every ride to soccer. Every late-night pickup from his girlfriend's house. Every dentist. Every doctor. Every school meeting. Me. My name. My time. My wallet. For 6 years I played the part. Paid for the part. Bled for the part. And for 6 years I told myself that one day he'd look at me and see it. See the man who didn't have to be there, but stayed anyway. But that morning over eggs and silence, he told me exactly where I stood. I didn't respond. I didn't ask why. I didn't defend myself. I just watched him finish his breakfast like he hadn't just drawn a line through my chest. Karen said nothing, her eyes glued to the countertop like it might offer an exit. She didn't even sigh, and that's when something in me shifted. Not anger, not pain, just clarity. After breakfast, I walked into my home office and closed the door. Sat down, opened the laptop. My hands moved like they already knew what to do, like they'd been waiting. First, the cell phone account canceled. Not paused, not downgraded. Canceled. No warning. No explanation. Then the car. Not the car itself. I'd given that to him on his 16th, and I wasn't about to take it back. But the insurance? Gone. Gas card? Suspended. Monthly maintenance subscription? Deleted. I went line by line through every streaming service, every app subscription, every automatic refill, every parental setting that made his life frictionless. Spotify? Logged out. Netflix? Access revoked. Apple Music, iCloud, Gaming Pass, all gone. Then I opened the school lunch account. Zeroed it out. Locked it. No more auto top-ups. If he wanted to eat, he could figure it out. I wasn't done. I pulled up the bank statements from the past year. Organized every expense into a spreadsheet. School fees, medical costs, auto payments, clothes, groceries. The list was longer than I expected. Each entry felt like a receipt for a man I'd been pretending not to be. A ghost of a father who paid in full for the privilege of being invisible. Then I emailed Tom. Subject: your son. Nate made something clear this morning. He doesn't belong to me. So, from today forward, he belongs to you. Attached is a breakdown of monthly expenses I've covered for the past year. Phone, car, food, school. If you're planning to be the father he believes in, now's your time. Let me know if you need any of the account info transferred. I clicked send. Sat back. Breathed. There was no rage in me. No self-pity. Just the sharp, clean edge of understanding. A man cannot keep paying the bill at a table where he isn't welcome. A man cannot keep showing up for people who wish he hadn't. It didn't take long. At 2:12 p.m., I got the text. Wi-Fi only. The cell plan was dead by then. Phone's dead. Gas card declined. What's going on? I stared at the message for a long moment. Then typed. You said you don't carry my name. I just agreed. No response. I left the phone on the desk and stood by the window, watching the street below. Quiet neighborhood. Big trees. The kind of place you think means safety, but really just gives people the illusion they've built something stable. I had built this life with sweat, with time, with credit. And in one sentence Nate had made it clear none of it mattered. I remembered birthdays, 6 of them. Remembered how he used to call me Dad in front of his friends when he wanted something, and Mike when he didn't. I remembered the way Karen would ask me to just let it go every time he snapped, every time he mocked, every time he tested the limits of what a man could tolerate. He was testing again. And this time I passed the test by not failing myself. By evening, the silence in the house had changed. Not peaceful, tense. Karen didn't say anything when she came into the room and saw me with my laptop. She hovered, like she wanted to ask what I'd done, but couldn't quite bring herself to confirm the thing she already knew. I didn't volunteer the truth. She hadn't defended me, hadn't even flinched when her son dismissed me like a service he no longer needed. So now she could live in the quiet too. The next morning, Nate slammed a few doors. He stomped around like anger might reverse the facts. He muttered something about my phone not working and the card's dead. Karen shot me a glance over the kitchen counter. I sipped my coffee. By the time he left for school, late and raging, Karen finally asked, "What happened?" I looked up, calm, measured. I listened to him. She blinked. "Mike. He said he's not mine. So now he's not on my accounts. Don't you think that's a little extreme?" "No," I said. "I think it's the first honest thing I've done in this house in a long time." She didn't reply, just turned back to the sink. That's when I knew this wasn't about a name, wasn't about a phone bill. This was about every silent betrayal, every shrug in place of a defense, every time I was made to feel like a stranger in the home I paid for. That morning, I didn't go to work. I sat in my office and watched the clouds roll in over the mountains. Thought about what it meant to raise a child who refuses your name. Thought about what it costs to love someone who doesn't want to be claimed. For 6 years, I gave everything. Time, money, effort. I stepped into a role that another man abandoned, and now that man would have to step up. Or not. Either way, I was done playing father to a boy who didn't see me. It didn't take long. By the end of the week, Nate's world had shifted, quietly at first, then with the kind of weight that breaks boys who've never carried anything. His phone stopped working. The gas card wouldn't process. His school lunch account, the one I topped off without fanfare for years, ran dry on a Wednesday. I didn't hear about it from him. I heard it from Karen, muttered at the kitchen sink, like it was something unfortunate that had just happened. I had to send him money today. He couldn't buy lunch. I didn't respond. I just looked at her, really looked, and saw not confusion in her eyes, but calculation. She wasn't shocked. She was measuring me, trying to decide how far I would go. That told me everything I needed to know. I stayed silent. Nate asked for distance. I delivered. But silence has a gravity of its own. And eventually it pulls everything down with it. That Friday night, I got the call I'd been expecting. Not from Nate. Not from Karen. From Tom. The ghost himself. I was in the garage. Oil-stained hands fixing a generator Nate never once thanked me for. When the phone buzzed in my pocket, I didn't recognize the number, but I answered anyway. Some part of me wanted to hear what it sounded like when a man finally stepped into the wreckage he left behind. "You can't just dump all this on me," he said. "No hello. No build-up. Just instant blame." "Why not?" I asked. "He's your son. I've been paying your part for 6 years." There was silence on the line. Then a low, bitter chuckle. The kind a man gives when he realizes he's cornered by consequences he thought he'd never have to face. "You didn't have to do all that," he said, like that excused him. "Nobody asked you to." I wiped my hands with a rag, leaned against the workbench, and let that sink in. He was right. Nobody asked me to. I just did it. Out of love. Out of duty. Out of some naive belief that stepping in made me more than a placeholder. "Well," I said, "I'm not doing it anymore. Tag, you're it." I hung up before he could answer. I knew what came next anyway. Anger. Deflection. Maybe even a message to Karen, asking why her husband had decided to stop funding the boy he didn't father. I didn't care. Let them rage. Let them unravel. 2 hours later, Nate texted me again. The panic was starting to fray the edge of his words. Tom says he can't pay for everything. What am I supposed to do? I didn't reply. At 10:42 p.m. Another message. Seriously? I can't even log into Netflix. What's your problem? Still nothing. At 11:18 p.m. The tone changed. Okay, look, I know what I said was messed up. I didn't mean it like that. You know, I was just mad. Can we talk? That's when I responded. I screenshotted the message I'd received from Tom, the one he sent me after trying to figure out how I'd managed to carry this weight alone for so long. How the hell did you afford all this for so long? I'm drowning over just the phone bill. Then I typed a single sentence beneath it and hit send. This is why I only invest in people who appreciate it. Nate didn't reply. The next day, the silence returned. No footsteps upstairs. No slamming doors. Just stillness. The kind of stillness that sets in when the house finally stops pretending. Karen barely looked at me. She moved around the kitchen like a stranger. Her lips pressed in a line too tight to speak through. She didn't ask me to fix it. She didn't defend Nate. But her silence wasn't neutral. It was loaded with blame, with disbelief, with quiet fury. She thought I'd blink. She thought I'd cave. She didn't understand that this wasn't punishment. It was freedom. That night, I checked the bank account. No withdrawals. No surprise charges. Just peace. Just the clean lines of a man who finally stopped paying to be ignored. It was Sunday when Nate came into my office. No knock. Just stood in the doorway, looking smaller than I remembered him. His eyes were tired. No sarcasm. No phone in hand. He'd left the armor upstairs. I need to talk to you. I kept typing. Made him wait. He cleared his throat. I messed up. What I said the other day, I didn't mean it like that. I was angry. I didn't mean you're not family. I looked at him, finally. He looked like a boy who'd stared too long into the edge of survival and realized the safety net was gone. You said you don't belong to me, I said. That I don't get to claim you. That was clear. He shook his head. I didn't mean it. I was just pissed. I'm sorry. The words fell flat. He didn't know how to mean them. He knew how to perform regret. That wasn't the same. He stepped into the room. I can get a job. I'll pay for the gas card. I'll cover the phone. I didn't know how much you were doing. I didn't think. No, I said. He blinked. What? No. You're not coming back onto my accounts. But, I said, I'm sorry. And I heard you, I said. Apology accepted. But support isn't returning. You're nearly 18. Adults pay their own bills. You said you didn't belong to me, so now you don't belong on my accounts. He stared at me like I'd slapped him. I said I was sorry. I know, I said. But respect isn't something you turn on when it's convenient. You had 6 years to mean it. He opened his mouth, closed it, stepped back. Karen called from downstairs a few minutes later, asking him to help with something. He didn't respond. That night, I lay in bed beside a woman who hadn't once told her son he was wrong, who hadn't once stood up for the man keeping the lights on. I thought about all the dinners I'd cooked, the drives I'd taken, the homework I'd helped with, the lectures I'd paid for, and I thought about how quickly it all vanished when a boy decided my name didn't matter. The truth is, I'd raised him, not because I had to, because I chose to, and for a long time I told myself that made me stronger, more noble. But in that silence, with her back turned and my heart colder than I'd ever known it could be, I realized something simpler. It didn't make me strong. It made me expendable, and I was done being that. So I slept. For the first time in months I slept. Not because the house was quiet, but because I was. Monday came with clouds, heavy and indifferent. The kind that pressed down on the house like judgment. Karen made coffee without a word. Nate came downstairs late. No phone in hand, no keys, just the look of someone quietly unraveling. He didn't ask for gas money, didn't ask about the insurance. Just walked out the door, shoulders hunched, backpack half-zipped, eyes avoiding mine. I didn't stop him. By noon, the silence broke. A text from Tom. You win. I can't keep up. The phone bill alone is killing me. I stared at the message, let it sit, then took a screenshot and sent it to Nate with a single line. This is why I only invest in people who appreciate it. There was no reply. Not that day. Not the next. But consequences don't need acknowledgement to be real. They simply arrive like the morning mail. And by Wednesday, the fallout began in earnest. Karen came home from work carrying more than her purse. Her face was tight, her movements deliberate, too quiet to be innocent. Nate's school called me. I didn't look up from the stovetop. And they said his lunch account's locked. He's been borrowing from friends all week. I stirred the pasta sauce. He's resourceful. She stepped closer. Mike! I turned. He made it clear I don't have a role in his life, so I stopped pretending. Her mouth opened, but there was nothing behind it. Just more of that silence she wore like armor. She turned away, walked down the hall, and shut the bedroom door like it was a defense against reality. The next day, Nate didn't go to school. He sat on the porch instead, hood up, earbuds dangling from a phone that worked only when leeching off Wi-Fi. He wasn't scrolling, just staring. At the gravel, at the mailbox, at the house he didn't want to belong to and couldn't afford to leave. That evening, Karen found me in the garage. He's hurting, she said. You're making your point. Maybe it's time to back off. No, I said. It's time to let it land. She stared at me like I'd grown horns. You're punishing him for one comment. I shook my head. I'm punishing myself if I undo it now. I'm not his wallet. I'm not his servant. He told me what I was to him, nothing. I listened. Her voice cracked. He's still a kid. He's nearly 18. That doesn't mean he understands. Then maybe he'll learn now. She turned, tears sharp in her eyes, walked out without another word. And for the first time, I didn't follow. I let her leave with her grief. She'd chosen her side. And silence is a side, even if it pretends not to be. Friday morning, Nate came to me. He didn't knock, didn't posture, just stood there in the office doorway again. This time not asking for anything. His eyes were red, his voice barely there. I get it. Okay. I messed up. You've done more than Tom ever did. I shouldn't have said what I said. I kept typing. He stepped inside. I talked to him. Tom. He told me to figure it out myself. Said he's got his own problems. I looked up. Did that surprise you? He shook his head. No. A pause. Then, quieter. I need insurance. They're cracking down at school. They said I can't park on campus if I don't prove coverage. I leaned back in the chair. Let him sweat in the silence. Let him stand in the discomfort of his own making. He swallowed. I'll get a job. Pay you back. Do whatever. I'm sorry. I believe you, I said. His eyes lit, hopeful. Too fast. But the answer's still no. His mouth opened. But you're almost 18. Adults pay their own bills. You said I don't get to claim you. That I'm not your father. So now you're not my dependent. That includes insurance. He stood there like he didn't know where to go next. Like the script had run out. I'm trying, he said. I see that, I replied. But trying doesn't erase 6 years of being treated like a stranger. I didn't mean it. You did. Maybe not in that moment. But deep down, yeah, you meant it. You thought it was safe to spit in my face because you assumed I'd keep paying anyway. You're learning that safety had a price. He didn't speak. You're not cut off because of a comment, Nate. You're cut off because for years you acted like I was a transaction, not a person. And now the account is closed. He nodded slowly. Not angry, not yet. Just numb. Just young. And then he left. That night, Karen didn't speak to me. She ate in silence. Washed dishes in silence. Walked past me in silence. Like muteness could change history. But the air was clearer. 2 weeks passed. Nate got a job at a gas station 2 miles down. I didn't ask how he got there. Didn't ask how he'd afford the car without insurance. That wasn't my burden anymore. The boy who said he didn't belong to me was learning what it means to survive alone. Karen softened. Slowly. The ice cracked in small ways, a refill of my coffee, a folded shirt left on the bed. But the divide between us had been exposed. And some truths, once revealed, don't shrink back into shadows. We were a family that functioned on my labor and my silence. Now they had neither, and the walls of the house stopped echoing with entitlement. They were learning, or maybe just breaking, but in either case they were finally awake. It was 2 months before Nate said the word again. Not sorry, not help, not even dad. It happened on a Sunday late afternoon, the kind of summer day that feels heavy with everything unspoken. I was in the backyard, oiling the deck. Karen was inside, prepping dinner. Nate stood near the garage, waiting for someone. A silver sedan pulled into the driveway. A girl stepped out, dark hair, nervous smile, holding a Tupperware of something homemade. Nate walked her toward me. "This is Mike," he said. "My dad." Just like that. Not stepdad. Not Mike. Not mom's husband. Dad. The word sat in the air like it didn't belong, like it had been stolen from someone else's mouth. She smiled. "Nice to meet you, sir." I wiped my hands on a rag, nodded, and shook hers. Said something polite, probably. I don't remember the words. Just the heat behind my eyes, the sudden weight in my chest. My name returned to me, and not from apology but need, from recognition, from survival. Later that night, when the dishes were done and the girl had gone, I sat on the back steps while the house quieted. Karen joined me. "She's sweet," she said. "She is. You okay?" I looked out at the yard. "He called me his dad." She nodded, her face unreadable. "He didn't mean it like people mean it in movies," I added. It wasn't some grand gesture. It was convenient, easier than explaining the truth. Karen didn't argue. "And I'm fine with that," I said, "because fatherhood isn't blood. It's presence. It's protection. It's boundaries." She touched my arm gently. "You were always that." "No," I said. "I was always available. That's different." She didn't respond, just sat with it, and that was enough. Nate never brought up the phone bill again, never asked about the insurance. He paid for his own gas, took extra shifts when his car needed new tires, started looking into community college, budgeting it himself using his own accounts. He never thanked me, not directly, not fully, but the behavior shifted. The resentment faded. The posture dropped. Sometimes that's all you get, and sometimes that's enough. Karen softened too, slowly, not with apologies but with action. The small things, folding my laundry, making my coffee how I liked it without asking, sitting beside me when she used to sit across. I didn't forget her silence. I forgave it, but I didn't forget it. We moved like people learning how to walk again, careful, quiet, watching each step. The house was still. No more slammed doors. No more raised voices. No more subtle digs. Just 3 people figuring out how to live with the version of themselves they'd finally met. And me? I was done begging. Done overreaching. Done giving love as a bribe for recognition. I had drawn the line, and they had learned to walk beside it, not across it. The funny thing is, once I stopped pouring myself into the cracks of this family, they stopped leaking so much. Turns out, sometimes the glue is what keeps everything fragile. Sometimes, the kindest thing you can do is stop saving people from themselves. I see Nate now, tired, leaner, more aware of what things cost. He's still proud, still stubborn, but there's a new kind of quiet in him. The kind that doesn't come from arrogance. The kind that comes from consequence. He doesn't call me dad again. Not where I can hear it. Not often. But when he sees me, he nods. And that nod holds more truth than all the forced Father's Day cards from the years before. We'll never be what I hoped we'd be. But we're something. And that something was earned. Not by blood, but by boundary. So here I am on the other side of the line. Still standing. Still quiet. Still watching. Still waiting to be asked the only question that matters. Was I wrong? Was I cruel for cutting him off? For making a boy feel the weight of his own rejection? Or was I just the first man in his life who loved him enough To stop letting him get away with it? You tell me.